Hey guys, this is Bastion. Today I'm going to be covering how to use reference tracks in your DAW to improve your songwriting process. From song structure, arrangement, mixing, and just elevate all of it to a more professional level. For those who don't know, a reference track is basically just a song that inspires you. It has something about its arrangement or mix that you want to emulate in one of your own tracks. There's nothing wrong with learning from other artists that inspire you and who are better than you. And until I started using reference tracks, it honestly held me back. Sometimes you'll hear people say there are no rules in music, but that's not entirely true, right? I mean, there are rules or parameters that make music and its specific genres more enjoyable to listen to, easier to dance to, and it's worth learning these rules when you're starting out so that you can then break them in creative, original ways more effectively, right? So I would say that reference tracks are one of the most direct ways to learn and then apply these principles on your own. All right, so let's jump into it. I mentioned in my Ableton template overview that I start every session with one track designated for my reference. I also recommend keeping one folder for all of your reference tracks. It's going to save you drive space because you might want to reuse these reference tracks in multiple sessions. I like to keep that folder easily accessible right down here so that I can just drag in my reference track. For this tutorial, I'm just going to use my own track, Pilgrimage, because I'm just scared of YouTube copyright strikes. So a great way to use a reference track to help inform your own song structure is using locators at the start point of new sections. So right here is where the beat comes in. So I'm going to right click up here on this timeline and say add locator. So I just went ahead and did the rest of the track, and you can see that I've got my main sections. I like to type them out in all caps. I've got this sort of transition in here, so I mark where the beat goes out, transition, build up, and then I like to do lowercase for just little points of interest, like, you know, a new instrument comes in. Now that you have the structure kind of beat out in these locators, there's a lot you can learn from this. First of all, you'll probably notice that your reference track is built up from these 4, 8, 16 bar loops. However, what you can learn is how artists will deviate from the standard kind of pop music formula in creative ways. In this case, I have this long intro that is actually completely off grid. I want it to sound very cinematic, mystical, didn't want it to sound like a dance track starting out until this first drop comes in, and then it's on grid, okay? Also, for my final drop, I've got a tricky kind of drop where it's got this build up. That's where the drop should have happened. Then I kind of bring it in a little bit delayed. So you'll learn little tricks like that to really spice up your transitions and drops. Okay, so you can see how reference tracks can help you learn about horizontal arrangement, but you can also learn about vertical arrangement. So for those who don't know, if horizontal arrangement is how your song is structured over time, vertical arrangement is how each of your tracks or instruments are layered on top of each other and how they fit together in the mix at any given point. I think that it is a really helpful educational exercise to recreate beats that you love so that you can learn how to make them on your own in the future. So, you know, I'll listen through and I will just recreate the beat. So now I'm just going to A-B it. I'm not going to say like go copy your favorite artist's beats, but there's nothing wrong with like drawing some inspiration, using them as jumping off points. Using reference tracks is also a key part of the mixdown process of any song. It's going to help you make your music sound the way that you want it to. Basically, you're going to want to A-B it with your mix, and that means listening to one and then the other back to back. And that's going to help you figure out what you need to fix very, very quickly. So I've just pulled in this mix of my remix of DTO Energia. This is pre-master. Since your reference track is going to be fully mixed and mastered and your demo is going to be somewhere in the mixdown process, you might want to turn the volume down on your reference just to match the levels a little bit better. So let's A-B these two tracks. You're gonna want to pick a point in the song that's similar. So like I like to compare like drop to drop or intro to intro. So right off the bat, I'm like noticing some big differences. One, the snare is way sort of thicker and punchier in Pilgrimage. The sub is also way more present in Pilgrimage than my mix for Energia. So yeah, this process is just going to illuminate, you know, the discrepancies between your mix and the mix of a song that you really think sounds great. And by the way, you might choose to use a different reference track for the mixdown than you used during production. I've used up to like 3 or 4 different reference tracks for one song before. That's a little excessive, but you get my point. Another good way to analyze your reference is to use a metering plugin like Voxengo Span, is a popular one. This will just show you, you know, how your reference track's frequency curve is kind of laid out. You know, where their sub is hitting in relation to the rest of the track. And other little things that you might, you know, you wouldn't be able to notice without some sort of visualization. So as you can see, there's a lot of useful mixing tricks that you can pick up just by doing some really critical listening, plus some basic tools. Lastly, guys, I just want to mention that a lot of artists will use a reference track in order to help them recreate their favorite songs in the DAW as an educational exercise. This can be very helpful for people, but also in terms of sound design, because it's going to force you to like learn how to make the sounds you want to hear. I personally have not really done this very much, but I do like to use reference tracks as jumping off points for my own music, mainly in terms of, as I mentioned, song structure and beat patterns. However, beyond that, the songs are completely different. You'd never guess what track I used as a reference. I would be very impressed, let's just say. You know, bonus points if you can figure it out. So there you go. That's pretty much how I use reference tracks. My cat wants me to be done, I think. They definitely helped me learn how to make better music over the years, and I hope that they help you as well. Lastly, just want to thank you guys so much for all the positive feedback and comments on the previous videos, the questions and the requests that you guys give me. That's really what's been inspiring me to keep going. Please do like and subscribe if you find this content valuable, and go check out my debut album, Beyond the Walls, which is out everywhere. Thanks again, guys. Peace out. Cheers.